Good afternoon, everyone. Congresswoman Maxine Waters proudly represents the 43rd District of California, which includes about half of Torrance, parts of South Los Angeles, Gardena, Harbor City, Harbor Gateway, Hawthorne, Inglewood, Lawndale, Lenox, Lomita, Playa del Rey, Playa Vista, West Athens, Westmont, West Carson, and Westchester. Elected in November 2018 to her 15th term, Congresswoman Waters is now the chairperson of the House Financial Services Committee, the first African American and the first woman to hold this important position. She's also a member of the House Progressive Caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus, and she is the co-chair of the Alzheimer's Disease Task Force. She is easily one of the most recognized members of House leadership. It's my great honor to introduce Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am delighted to be here with you this afternoon. I'm especially honored to be asked, along with Ted Lieu, every year to come to give the State of the Region address. I think that it is extremely important to respond to the request, because I believe that the Torrance Chamber of Commerce is the best chamber of commerce in the whole United States of America. And so I want to thank Serena Josel of Kaiser Permanente for that introduction. And of course, always my thanks to the Torrance Area Chamber of Commerce. The Torrance Area Chamber of Commerce has done an incredible job. And I want you to know that Donna Duperon is the most active, the most involved, the most committed of anyone that I've ever seen serving as president and CEO of a Chamber of Commerce. She keeps this chamber busy. There is an activity going every week. So give Donna Duperon a big round of applause. And of course, a wonderful team working with John Hefferman, who is the chairman of the board, and for all of the time and hard work that he puts into this chamber. He too is very dedicated, and he is absolutely committed to serving the people of Torrance. Give him a big round of applause. I'm delighted to be here with Ted Lieu. He is one of our young, active members of the Congress of the United States of America. He's now in a special position in the leadership that he will tell you something about. And of course, in addition to that, he is known as one of the most successful and accomplished tweeters in Washington, D.C. His leadership does not go unnoticed. Give him a big round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, normally when Ted and I come, we are trying to do everything that we can to identify what we're doing in Washington, D.C. and how it relates to the region. And so normally we will be talking about transportation issues as it relates to the efforts in the South Bay. We will be talking about issues of concern to our local business community, on, and we're going to do some of that today. But I know you want to hear about what's going on in Washington. Or maybe you don't. First, I would like to say to Mayor Pat Fury and Terry, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being an involved mayor who shows up at every event. He's always there. And of course, he just got back from Washington not too long ago. And he's reminding me how cold it is back there. But he's also reminding me about what this city and what this region cares about, this area. And so they're always there as advocates, speaking on behalf of not only the city, but the region, and helping us to understand how we can focus our attention on issues that will make the quality of life much better for the people who live here. Give them a big round of applause. I want to let you know that I was elected by my colleagues to become the chair of the very important Financial Services Committee of the Congress of the United States. And I have served on that committee for 28 years. So I think I know something about it. And I'm very pleased and honored that I'm going to have an opportunity to have hearings and oversight and some investigations in that committee that have been ignored for far too long. I want you to know that I started out with my first hearing was on homelessness. Homelessness, as you know, is a real problem throughout this country. And no matter where you come from, what community you're in, there are people who are living in tents, under bridges, in your backyard sometimes, because they really don't have a place to live. And the most shameful thing about homelessness is that we have veterans and families with children who are homeless. And so this committee has HUD. We have HUD in that committee. That's one of the government agencies that we have the oversight responsibility for. But we have not had a hearing on homelessness or the problem of basically rentals and lack of the ability to be owners in this country, because the previous chair just did not think those issues were important. But I think they're very important, and so I have a huge bill that I'm going to reintroduce. I've introduced it twice, and it is a bill to end homelessness forever. I believe that my bill of $13 billion, $13.27 billion, can do that. Now, I want you to know there's been a lot of discussion about the definition of homelessness. And we have homeless advocates who fight each other about how it should be defined. We're going to get rid of that fight. We're going to come together, and we're going to make sure that we have a definition that's fitting and that will serve the people of this country. There's no reason why we should have 500,000 people out on the streets every night. And in our area alone, in the greater Los Angeles area, about 50,000 on the street every night. And so this is something that I'm going to pay an awful lot of attention to. I want you to know that, you know as well as anybody that there's division in Washington, D.C., and that the parties don't work too well together. And of course, we have a lot of the pundits and people from the media who have been predicting what I'm going to do and how I'm going to run the committee. And they said that I was going to be very tough on some people on Wall Street. They said that I was going to do a lot of investigation of this administration. But I want you to know that the ranking member on this committee is a young man that I have gotten to know, and we are working together, and we have 3 bills that are going to be co-sponsored, Democrats and Republicans working together, and those bills will be 3 bills that are very important. The National Flood Insurance Bill. I just heard there was flooding in California, and it has to be reauthorized, and so we're going to work on that. And then we have something called TRIA, and TRIA is basically a program that supports insurance companies when you have disasters and you have catastrophic occurrences where the insurance companies could not have anticipated that in the premiums that they were charging. And so when you have huge venues and hospitals and things that certainly the premiums would not cover the cost of if they have to be redone, if they have to be reconstructed. And so we have a program that will provide support to make sure that these huge and important venues that service all of the people will be reconstructed, will be renovated, will be put back in service. So that's two of those bills that we're working on. And of course, Donna knows about the Export-Import Bank. That's so very important. That got undermined in the last session of Congress, was under attack, and we don't know why, because this EXIM Bank is so very important to helping to support our ability to export to other countries. And when we export, we create jobs. And we have so many countries that would like to have goods and services, and we have so many people prepared to provide those goods and services, but they need some support, they need some help, whether or not it's with insurance, other kinds of things that makes exports very possible. So we're gonna put those three bills up, and we're gonna work together, and we're going to show them that the predictions are all wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. When we decide that we can work together and get things done, then we should do it, and we're going to try to be fine examples of that. So I want you to help in every way that you can. When these bills come up, we won't have much opposition. We'll have some opposition. But on some things like EXIM Bank, we have a lot of people who don't understand what it is. And they think it's another bank like a Bank of America, or it is not. And so I want you to write, I want you to tweet, I want you to get on the internet, and I want you to give support to the EXIM Bank, because we have lots of small businesses in this area who are exporters or who would like to be exporters, and they would like to have some support for their government. Will you do that? And so we are experiencing some remarkable things in Washington, D.C. We are experiencing the kinds of decisions, the kinds of initiatives that we never thought we would encounter. And so it is daunting, and we are working in every way that we possibly can to deal with it. Many of you are watching what is going on your television. You're listening to what is being said about certain issues. You're trying to understand what is going on with our foreign relations, and on and on and on. But I bet you in all of that, you were certainly surprised that your government shut down for 35 days. Federal employees who were not paid, who lived paycheck to paycheck. Federal employees who were seeking help for their families with some of our nonprofit organizations all over this country. 800,000 federal employees. Why did that take place? It should not have taken place. It should not be the kind of response when people have differences about how things ought to be done. The big issue that is now taking up so much time and confronting the Congress of the United States have to do with the fact that the President of the United States told everybody that he was going to build a big, beautiful wall. A big, beautiful wall that nobody could climb over. The biggest and most beautiful wall you have ever seen or heard of in your life, and Mexico was going to pay for it. And Mexico told him in very unkind words that that was not going to happen. And so the president still was asking us for $5.7 billion to build this wall. And of course, when he couldn't get what he wanted, he simply used the power of the presidency to shut down this country and shut down all of the federal workers that you heard about, and you wondered what was happening to them and their families. We finally got to the place where our new speaker basically said to him he could not come to the Congress of the United States and give the State of the Union. And so he wanted that platform so bad until he backed down, and he got there, and when he got there, he was greeted by a lot of women in white. And the women in white were the new elected women, and many of the women who have been serving in Congress for so long, who have been wanting to get at some of the issues about family and education and health care and child care, and many of these issues that certainly had been abandoned or forgotten. And so he came and he gave his speech, and the women and Nancy Pelosi gave her clap. And everybody wanted to know, how did she think of that clap? She said, I didn't think of it, it just came, and I just did it. And so after that, it was on to getting both sides together with an agreement that they would try and work out the differences and see what they could do to get beyond this situation about the wall. And so they did get together. It was very tough. And they put together a conference committee, and they came out with some very limited funding for, I think, about $1.375 billion for the wall or for the barrier or for whatever it was called. And they put some other money into the effort, talking about how you use new technology and how you use the drones and other kinds of things to deal with securing the border, because everybody wants border security. And, you know, even though sometimes our president talks about he's the only one that cares about security for this country, that is certainly questionable. Because he is absolutely friends with one of the worst enemies of this country, and that is Putin in Russia and the Kremlin. And he said he's in love with Kim Jong-un over in North Korea. And he said, despite the fact that our intelligence committees, our intelligence leaders in the government said to him that Kim Jong-un was still dangerous, and that he still was desirous of deploying missiles at any time. And the president answered by saying to our intelligence leaders that he didn't believe that was true because Putin told him so. And so we have real concerns. I'm not only concerned about the divisions that are being created in our country, I'm concerned about what is being thought of us in foreign countries. And I'm concerned about the way that we are being received or not being received. You've been watching television, and I think that perhaps you saw a recent conference in Munich dealing with security, where the vice president announced greetings from the President of the United States of America, and there was dead silence. No response. That has never happened to us in the United States of America. And so while I may not be talking a lot today about some of the issues I normally talk about with transportation and about what the efforts are of the small business community in developing, et cetera, I want us all to be concerned about our country, about our democracy, about respect for our Constitution. It is because when we understand the importance of the democracy, and when we are dedicated to the proposition that the Constitution means something, we won't have the kind of division that we're seeing now. And it's very important for all of us to stand up for support of the Constitution and our democracy. Now, having said all of that, let me just say that in my committee, I am concerned about everything from predatory lending. I'm concerned about what happens on Wall Street and our major banks. 2008, we went through a meltdown in this country. It was a recession, almost a depression. It was because of the exotic products that had been put on the market by too many of our big banks, by Wall Street. And so we created something called Dodd-Frank reforms. And the centerpiece of those reforms is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which we have to work very hard to protect. There's been all kinds of efforts to undermine it, but under my leadership in that committee, I am going to be concerned about the quality of life for all of the citizens of this country, not just the 1%. The 1% will always be taken care of. Wall Street takes care of itself. But we've got to be concerned about Main Street, and that's what I am concerned about. And I will use this committee to make sure that we pay attention to the needs of our people. And so I'm going to be working, as I said, on homelessness. I'm going to be working on housing and the ability for those who really desire to have a housing to be treated fairly by our banks and our financial institutions. And as you know, since I'm Auntie Maxine, I've got to care about our millennials. I want our millennials to be able to buy a house, to buy a home if they want it, and many of them are not happy with our economy. And so I'm going to be working to make sure that the banks come up with some products that will service them. As a matter of fact, as the CEOs have come in to basically try to find out what I'm thinking, I send them back with mission. The mission is, I want you to have a product for the millennials so that they can buy a home. And of course, I want you to not overrun my committee with efforts that you don't really need. Oftentimes, we get lobbyists and bills from some of our big banks and financial institutions because they're trying to show their investors that they're really looking out for them and that they're going to make sure that they get rid of all the regulations and they're going to make sure that they're able to make more money with new exotic products, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's over. That's not going to happen in this committee. We're going to make sure that we look out for the interests of all of the people. And so when you see these discussions going on, don't walk away or turn your head because they speak in language that they think you don't understand. What they will be talking about is they'll talk about derivatives. They'll talk about the Volcker rule. They'll talk about mirror trading. Listen, I'm going to break all that down so that people understand exactly what it is because I think this language is developed to keep you from knowing what they're doing. And so we're going to run this committee in a very different way, and I hope that it's going to be in a manner that will allow people to use their God-given talent and their earnings to have a good quality of life. Just one more thing I'd like to mention before I exit, because I know that you only have so much time. The credit bureaus. I'm paying attention to the credit bureaus, and I'm having them come in. Equifax has been in, and I want to know what they're doing about cybersecurity. If they don't know, they should talk to Ted Lieu. He's an expert on cybersecurity. And so we can't have all of our personal information hacked and people using that information and they not come up with the systems to protect it. So we're talking with all of the credit bureaus about that. But more than that, we're talking to the credit bureaus about the fact that they're a monopoly and they basically control our lives. And we have not been happy with the fact that when something goes wrong, when their information is not correct, when they get the names mixed up and you try to straighten it out, you're on your own. You're on your own, and oftentimes it will take a year or two. When you want to freeze your credit because your credit has been stolen from you, it takes a long time, and we want them to be a part of now supporting all of the consumers so that they have this absolutely control of all of our private information, and they should be more careful in the way that they handle it, and they should be more respectful of the consumers. And I've said to them, I have another challenge for you, and that challenge is this. You get all of our personal information, you determine, and that information determines whether or not we are credit worthy. But in addition to that, you sell that information and you make money on that information. You're making billions of dollars. Why can't the consumer get a piece of the money from the use of their private information? Why can't you find a way to say that In addition to all of the money that they're earning on the sale of your private information, since it's our information, maybe we should get a cut of that also. And so I sent them back to see if they could come up with a plan. They didn't leave my office too happy. But I wanted to talk with them basically about the way that they conduct themselves and their responsibility to us. Now, having said all of that, ladies and gentlemen, my eyes are always on my district and the community. LAX, of course, is in my district, and that footprint is so important to all of us, and the jobs that they create, so important to our families. And it worried me so much when we were shut down because this economic engine that services this whole area was placed at risk. And I want you to know, even though it may not have been told to you in ways that you understand, that the air traffic controllers said, this country is in great danger. I was worried that some of them were on sick out. I was worried that some of them were overworked, long hours. You cannot work air traffic controllers for long hours. When they get weary and they're tired, they can be very dangerous in doing their job. But they sent a message to us, please get it all straightened out and open back up because something bad is going to happen if you don't take care of it. And of course, in addition to me thinking about all of the airports in the country, I certainly was thinking about LAX. I certainly was thinking about our community and what that would mean if somehow those airlines were not available to us to provide the kind of services that they normally provide. With that, let me just say to you, thank you for being a well-organized community. Thank you for being involved in all of those events that Donna Duperon is always creating for all of us. Thank you for being organized in communities where you respond to the problems and the issues that confront your areas. It is not every community that does that. I represent the 43rd Congressional District. It is very diverse, and I have a lot of communities in my district. And I want to tell you that the city of Torrance is the most organized and the most capable of dealing with the issues of the constituents of the city. Thank you so very much, and if Donna would like it, I'll be open to answer questions after we finish with our presentations. Thank you so very much.
Congresswoman, on behalf of the Torrance Area Chamber Board of Directors, we have a thank you gift here for you, some sweets from Kirk's very own Torrance Bakery. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Thank you very much.
Next up, I'd like to invite Connie Turner from Southern California Edison to the stage. She's going to introduce Congressman Liu. Connie.
We tease each other because we have compatible roles in 2 different utilities, so we get to meet each other quite frequently. I'd like to welcome Congressman Ted Liu, 33rd Congressional District, United States House of Representatives. It's a great honor to be able to introduce him as a co-partner to the Congresswoman Maxine Waters. I've known her for many years, so she is quite a pistol up there in Washington. Ted is serving in his 3rd term in Congress and currently sits on the House Judiciary Committee and the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He was also elected by his Democratic colleagues to serve as a co-chair of the Democratic Party and Communications Committee. And he's only one of 4 computer science majors currently serving in the Congress. So he does know a little bit about computers and cybersecurity. Without taking up too much of his speaking time, because we definitely want to know what he's involved in Washington, I'd just like to say thank you to Ted's wife, Betty. She's a water commissioner and a former California Deputy Attorney General. And they live, as you know, right here in Torrance with their 2 sons, Brennan and Austin. With that being said, let's bring up the congressman.
Thank you, Connie, for that wonderful introduction. By the way, I was right before this at Evolocity, which is this really cool electric vehicle company in Torrance. And so they need Southern California Edison's help. I was there with my amazing staff, Nico, my district director, and Aurelia, my field representative. And of course, my staff asked the one super important question, which is, hey, are you a member of the Torrance Area Chamber of Commerce? Turns out they're not, so you just might want to, say hi to them. All right. It's my honor to be here along with the Congresswoman Maxine Waters, and the only reason we're even here today is because we funded government last Friday. So sometimes we set out low expectations of American